as I was saying, that since we talked last time, there have been more protests in Myanmar, and the protests have been larger and a little bit violent. It's hard to tell from the news reporting. I've seen maybe 15 different news broadcasts. They don't say much. You don't know who's behind the protests, if it's the Chinese counterintelligence or if it's the Burmese people. Most of the protests have been in Mandalay, so that's a big Chinese community there. So there was a news report on the German news organization about ASEAN's participation, but it didn't say much.
Yes.
Didn't say much.
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily Chinese resident in Burma. They are the first, or they are the one main protest in Burma, because it is more related to Burmese. You know, Chinese resident in Burma are just supporter. I don't think they play the primary role. They play only secondary role in
the protests?
In the protests or any political activity. So that is the general situation of protests in Burma. So you may, as you said, who are behind the protests is complicated, you know. It's many actors are involved. It is a general protest, not any single leader. There's no any single leader, but many group. They are voluntarily protesting, and some people in Yangon or some, they may be organized by previous old generation protest leader, but it's not necessarily they are doing the whole country protest. They are just maybe who are influenced in Yangon and those areas. And first of all, as I usually say, I don't want to recommend, or I don't want to support those kind of protests in the first place. That is not my idea. I am only advise or recommend, as you know from the beginning during our conversation in previous videos. Only I talk about scientific way and very systematic way, practical things to do nation building. You know, I'm not interested about just a protest or violence or doing any chaos or any violence. It's nothing to do with nation building, not necessary. So my point is, let's do nation building. If it is necessary, we can recommend protests or any violence or any arms group. Not to do anything without clear picture about nation building. You know, as you may know, you may notice current protest leader, they are just doing without clear picture. I can see. They don't know clear political picture. They don't know clear nation building. That's I'm very concerned from the beginning. I never recommend protests. I never recommend CDM. I never encourage them. That is not my interest. My interest is to build nation. As you are scholar or as you are systematic, practical things. First, we have to be clear what is nation building. That is my point. Yeah.
Well, that's the what can I say? Obviously, I think the NLD people are supporting the protests. The supporters of the NLD are supporting the protests because they are the ones who've been most directly pushed out of power by the Tatmadaw. Now, I don't know that the Tatmadaw are any worse at running Myanmar than the NLD. They might be better. And I guess the Tatmadaw under the under the current general might be very different from Ne Win. You know, maybe they've learned something.
Yeah, the things, the military, they are totally, they are not doing nation building. They don't aware about nation building, or they don't aware about public civilization in the country. You can see the military government last month press conference. They clearly say if they want to do, they could do something like nation building or engage with international society or something. So the meaning is the military clearly said they are not interested for nation building. They are not interested for public welfare. They are not interested for connection with or cooperation with international society. Their statement is clear. What I understand is, if they want, they could do, they said. So it means they don't want to do at all, you know. It is clear statement. And on the same time, the military also point out those protest leaders, like very famous 88 generation leader, 2007 protest leader, and many protest leaders. They point out, military point out, they are not doing nation building. They are just lobbying. They are just showcase. They are just go at the protest place in the front, and they took picture and show to the donor international society. Then they will receive all this foreign assistance. The military point out them already. And I'm also surprised NLD and Aung San Suu Kyi or military clearly point out they are winning election because of foreign assistance, foreign aids. Example, now Suu Kyi was involved in her own NGO. It's called Dokinji Foundation. Her mother name. The NGO was started by Suu Kyi, and they got a lot of money from foreign aid. Dokinji Foundation indirectly helped NLD many ways. A lot of our voters are benefit of the foundation, something like that. A lot of NLD are using foreign aid to win their election. That military point out. So I was surprised why Suu Kyi was involved with such kind of a penny of money, you know, a penny of money to involve, and military can accuse her because of a penny of money. she should not involve such thing if she are running the government, you know. She should not do anything about foreign aid. Foreign aid is nothing. It cannot enough to build the country. Never. It's only for NGO activity. Why she is doing such things? She is running the government. Why she is running the government as NGO level running? That I was surprised why they are involved too much on the penny of money from foreign aid. Not just Suchi NGO, also many NLD and many half-party organizations are involved with foreign aid. And exactly, the military point out, the protest leader, 88 leaders, 2007 leaders, they all are trapped in that military accusation. So, if you are run the government, you better quit your shit. Don't involve with such kind of money, such kind of penny of money. That's military point out in the last press release.
So I haven't read those press releases. That's interesting information.
It's in Burmese.
In Burmese, okay. So the military, the Tatmadaw, is accusing Aung San Suu Kyi of taking money from NGOs, which could be George Soros, or it could be the Oxfam, or it could be CARE, or it could be the United States
European
State Department, European aid agencies. And what you're saying is that these agencies all have a kind of hidden agenda, and that they're not really providing much aid to Myanmar, but they're trying to advance their political objectives using that aid.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. I mean, I don't know the specifics of it. I don't know what I can't imagine actually what their specific aims would be. What struck me was that in an analysis from India, you know, it was noted that the United States does not have much leverage in Myanmar. They don't have many businesses there. They don't have a large investment in the infrastructure. They don't have a large connection with the economy. They don't have a large sales of armaments or military equipment there.
Actually, that should be done by the government, under Suu Kyi government. They are not doing such a big government level activity.
Well, because that would piss off China.
Why they are doing just a penny of money, like NGO money? That is shit, you know. That's why I don't
They're taking money from the NGOs and they're kind of personally profiting from it, is what you're saying.
A kind of, it can be, yeah.
The person that I want to talk about here is Tom Andrews.
Yep.
He has a position, and you can see on your screen now, he's the special rapporteur on the situation of human rights. Now, I haven't been able to figure out what he knows about Myanmar. It doesn't seem to be much. He has no special expertise as a scholar or as an anthropologist in Myanmar. His expertise is in law, as it says. He used to be a congressman from Maine. This was a political appointment, one would seem. He has a Washington, D.C.-based consulting practice, Andrews Strategic Services. That's a red flag. He has worked with the National Democratic Institute for International Affairs in Cambodia, in Indonesia, in Algeria, in Croatia, in Serbia, in Ukraine, and in Yemen. So one thinks his notion of human rights is like a cookie cutter. He doesn't understand anything about the particular history of Burma, but he sees human rights and he he raises his red flags. He served as the General Secretary for the Nobel Peace Prize laureate campaign for Aung San Suu Kyi and the people of Burma in 2001. So he has a history of Burma relations in terms of trumpeting ASSK and the Euro-Burma network. He has run advocacy NGOs, including Win Without War and United to End Genocide.
His consultancy is related to lobbying?
That's right. And he's very powerful in this situation because he keeps calling for more sanctions.
Yeah.
He says that these sanctions are going to be different. Now, the sanctions in the 1990s and 2000 just drove Myanmar into the arms of the Chinese. They cut off their economic relations with the outside world and just made everybody more dependent on China. So those were not good. Now they're saying that they have smart sanctions, like a smart bomb, and this bomb is only going to kill the bad people and not injure any innocent people. And I don't believe that. I think that these sanctions are sanctions, and they're not good, generally. So, hang on a second, I'm going to stop my screen sharing. Yeah, so those sanctions are not good because they cripple the economy, making it more difficult to recover, more difficult to buy things, more expensive to buy things. And again, the only solution is to buy from China, which is not participating in the sanctions. So I don't like this Tom Andrews guy. I don't think he's a good person. I don't think his interest here is in the help of Myanmar. I think his interest is in his own career as a human rights warrior.
Or lobbying.
Yes, yeah. And whether he is in bed with the Chinese or not, I don't know. I haven't been able to find any evidence of that. But I would suspect that China is quite happy with him there. China has a lot of power in the UN, and they probably wouldn't have let him get into this position unless he agreed to work on their agenda. And their agenda, paradoxically, is to want sanctions for the government.
It's a little bit better than previous sanction.
Yeah, we'll have to see as time goes on. They say they're more targeted. This would only be true if the military was, very corrupt, like the brothers in Sri Lanka, where the government is, personally corrupt. I haven't heard that. I'm sure that some of the generals are a little bit corrupt. That would just be human nature. But I don't know that their interest is not in, throwing money into London and Swiss banks to become wealthy. They have their own vision of what you talked about, nation building. I think the Tatmadaw are doing nation building by their own lights. Maybe not a good nation, maybe not the nation you would like or other people in Myanmar would like, but it's at least a nation. I don't know.
They are not nation building. They are just grabbing power here and there.
For themselves, huh?
Yeah,
well, they must have an idea of the nation building, but maybe it's a different vision.
They already press release clearly. If we want to do, we could do. Which means they don't want to do at all nation building. So Tamro is out of the question about nation building. And about as you said, smart sanction. Tamro already accused the NLD and the civil society NGO protest leader who so-called 88 generation and 2007 protest leader, all those people their living is based from foreign assistance. Tamro already accused them. They already point out they have a lot of evidence. The military know very well those people are surviving. Their living is based from the foreign aid. So, as you mentioned, like human right leader, I'm not sure, as you said, reporter Thomas, one you said, including him, it seems a lot of lobby people and, foreign aid recipient NGO activists are gathering again in this time. It is not good. They better quit their shit, Your Tamaro already point out their election is based on foreign aid. And now they are gathering again. And those all NLD and those all a new leader who are going to form the government, committee of representative of People Trudeau, CRPH. They all are repeating again with what Tamro already point out. All of them are lobbying NGO, and they are only doing a kind of foreign aid. So I think it is not a good sign. It's not a good sign to be a nation building. They don't have clear image about nation building. They don't digest the idea. From the beginning of the protests, I was very, very down because I did not see any clear image, any clear about nation building. They just, chaos. They just
they're protesting for the sake of protesting. Yeah, they did that in the United States last summer. There were many protests in Washington State, in Seattle, Washington, and Portland. And there seemed to be no reason for the protests.
Yeah, I was very down. Yeah.
And yeah, if you have a little bit of money, you can, and people are poor and people are frustrated as they are after all these COVID lockdowns. It's not so difficult to organize a protest. What makes me think that the protests are not that, in a sense, serious, I don't think that's the right word, but as you would say, maybe conceptually motivated with a clear view of how to improve the national consensus, is that the monks, the Buddhist monks, are not participating largely in the protests. From what I've seen, there's a few here and there, but largely the Buddhist clergy is staying away from these protests. And to me, the Buddhist clergy is the most important organizing feature of Myanmar society. That could be disputed. Maybe it's not the most important, but it's certainly a very important organizing feature. And I think anyone who wanted to build a nation in Burma would do so with the cooperation of the Buddhist clergy, with the cooperation of the Sangha. And without that Sangha, they would not get anywhere.
Yeah, it's one of factor.
Yeah. And as much as, I want to be sympathetic to Buddhism, seeing the way things have gone in Sri Lanka, the Buddhist clergy there have become very corrupt. with regard to the Chinese and with regard to Mahinda Rajapaksa. So I don't know that the Buddhist clergy is the best guide, the best roadmap to the future, but I don't know what to say. It's
I mean, they are not architect for nation building, but the Buddhist issue and clergy issue can be one of factor of political social science. Yeah.
They tend to have a backward-looking view. They don't look towards the future; they look to the past, and they tend to want to have the Buddha of the future, the Maitreya, come and rescue people from the chains of samsara.
Yeah.
So they're not a very modern vision, but at the same time, they're not a corrupt vision in that sense. They don't have an axe to grind.
They should have played some role. They are not totally out of the picture. They should have some role. Yeah. So the thing is, just protesting without clear picture of the nation building, without clear digestion of the topic for the protest, with emotionally and strong emotion, they just run over the street and protest, and provoking protest is not useful for nation building. It's nothing useful for nation building. You can see almost 90% are just by emotion. They don't have clear picture of nation building. They don't know what is the topic of the protest clearly. That military can point out. In that sense, military can point out. So I can say the people of Burma, your emotion cannot build the nation. You have to be clear picture of nation building. Clear picture of the topic. They need scientific way of practical things. They have to see the approach, scientific approach. Political science or political economy. The priority we need in nation building is you have to clearly digest those things. All who want to be the leading role in nation building, they should clear. I see most of them, they are not. One of Burma's problem is if you see Burmese political culture, if you see the whole until before after independence, let's see, all the Burmese political culture is two groups. There are two groups. One is military and one is the protest group. They only Burmese political culture cultivated only two groups. One is military group and one is a protest group. Military is out of a question about nation building. They are just grabbing power here and here. They don't want to do nation building. They themselves already
I still think that's too harsh. I think that's too harsh. The military must have some idea of nation building. Even if it's a bad idea of nation building, they must have some idea. They're not just living day to day and minute to minute to gain power for themselves. They have some sense of what is Burma, what should be a good Burma, or what should be a good Myanmar.
They just want to grab power. If you put them all the way on the top, on the high position, and they did not produce anything for the country, just only controlling power, in that way they may willing to do that. but they
Well, I
won't
would go
contribute anything to the people.
Just from a common sense standpoint, I think that they do need to have some sense of nation building. But if we take the most uncharitable view of their role, they are trying, if the ship of state is a ship, it's in the ocean, and it's heading towards the rocks, which in this case would be, as you said, these, sort of corrupt NGOs or becoming a territory of China. These are rocks that would destroy the ship. So the military wants to steer away from these rocks. So they don't want the Burmese ship to be crashed. Now, where should the Burmese ship go? Maybe they have no idea or no good idea. They don't know how to chart a course for the Burmese ship of state. But if they see that the ship of state is going in the wrong direction, they're going to step in and steer away from the rocks, which may be steering them towards another rocks.
It's not necessarily true, because it's better civilian government can prevent the ship to crash with.
Well, but the civilian government was becoming very corrupt with the Chinese. The civilian government was not incorporating the ethnic groups into a state structure. They were not doing nation building. The fact that they won, quote unquote, an overwhelming majority indicates that they did not do a good job of allowing the minority groups to be represented. Instead, they tried to gain as much power for themselves as they could. So that's not good governance. In Myanmar, you would have many different groups with small pockets of power, and they might work together in a coalition, if you want to talk about nation building. But from the reports I've read, they didn't do any of that. This Panagong peace process was, which the Tatmadaw was doing more to do nation building than the NLD was doing. The NLD was running a modernist front in Yangon, and so people were happy with that.
If you assess all in all, I think civilian government is better than the military.
Than the Tatmadaw, okay. Well, I don't think it's going to go back.
The military is doing little, and they are doing bad thing a lot. So they are doing good thing very little. They are more bad things.
Yeah, what the bad things they're doing now, I guess, is just suppressing the protests. And whether they're going to have a chance to govern at all, I don't know.
They are not at all. They have, first thing, they don't want to do nation building or for public welfare. And second thing, they don't prepare, and they did not make a clear nation building steps.
Well, but also NLD was not doing a good job of nation building either, though.
I mean, military cases, they are very, very rude way of power grabbing.
Mm-hmm.
They just grabbing power here and there. They don't have any good intention. That is the big problem. The civilian government, they have good intention. They do legitimacy. And the problem is they fail to do second step or the following step. That's it. But
one would think so. They failed to allow. Yeah, they have failed to allow the Tatmadaw to have a significant enough voice in government that they didn't feel excluded. They failed to include other minority and tribal groups besides themselves. And they relied on, I guess, international development assistance at the same time, saying yes to China for the China-Burma economic corridor and the dam project. Well, let's take another look. I found out some more information about this Thomas Andrews. Served as National Director of Win Without War. Now, what is Win Without War? Okay, so they're a non-profit group. Now we're going to share my entire...
by U.S. government, right?
Well, no, he's not appointed by the United States government. He's appointed by the United Nations. And what does that mean? The United Nations works with votes and factions. So the United States has influence in the United Nations, but they trade their influence. Now, the fact that they have a U.S. person in that position means they used some of their trading power, because this could be a person from Ireland, or it could be a person from somewhere else. But I suspect it was done with the cooperation of China, which has a lot of power. So this is the Win Without War page. Video discussion with the Indian Foreign Affairs Minister that I thought was quite helpful. You didn't think it was so helpful, but I did.
I mean, he narrows explanation. He explains something about Indian position.
Yeah, I want to... This is Strat News Global for somebody who wants to see it. The title of it is Delhi Wouldn't Want to Sacrifice Strategic Security Development Ties. Ex-envoy Gautam Mukhopadhyay. I'll watch that again, and I'll see if there's a short clip that we can use for our next discussion there. But I thought this was a worthwhile summary of this change. And he said, interestingly enough, that the situation in Myanmar was one of two polarized factions. One side is the Tatmadaw side, you could say, and the other side is the NLD side. Well, there's more sides to it than that. Or you could say there's the old side, and he said this new generation, which had tasted internet freedom. In any event, these two forces were polarized. And we see that in many other countries around the world. We see that in America, where they have a very strong polarization between the two factions in politics.
So, as I told you, there are two groups you can see in Burmese political culture. One is military junta. They are illegally and rudely, they took power, they oppress people, suppress people, they abuse people. That is military side. That military, they don't interest at all nation building or for public welfare. They are totally out of nation building for democratic country. The other two group is whenever military abuse, coup or militarize, there was a group of protests, especially after 1988. From 1988, the group was very significant, and that group was student leader or protester leader or any people who are involved in leading the protests. I mean, I not at all recommend any protest or any violence, as I told you before. But I just mentioning the fact in Burmese political culture, only these two groups are cultivated in Burmese politics. That is so bad. It is nothing good for the society, for the people or the country. I don't want military junta. They abuse and oppress the people. And also I don't want to see the protest leader and the protest activity in the country. These two groups are nothing to do with nation building. no any useful or no any good for the country. Because protests in 1988, we already see a lot of people die, a lot of people trouble, a lot of people lost their job. Who are the main responsible? I mean, we already know the military is the aggressive. They are the main attacker. But what about the protest leader? They just provoking and they did not responsible anything, even in 1988. I mean, the people of Burma, the citizen has done their duty very enough. They involved for any campaign protest against the military. They involved for voting at the election to select their choice. That is people, ordinary citizen duty, responsible. They have done very well. I appreciate for Burmese citizens. They all are innocent and they have done sincerely for the country by involving in the protest, by voting in the election. They have nothing wrong with the public. The mistake is one is military and the other is protest leader, provoker. They provoke the people to do protest, but without clear picture, without clear mind in nation building, without clearly digested the topic of the protest. If they have clear mind, clear picture of the nation building, since 1988, they could make it completely out of military to build democracy. They did not done because at the time military are out of control the whole country in 1988. You know, that time why protest leaders are just sitting and doing nothing. They should make immediately a government and they should organize something, you know, to build nation. Because they don't have clear mind, they don't have clear picture of nation building. They just emotionally provoking the public and doing nothing. That's why I don't like it. That is a 1988 experience. And again, they don't want to invite who are scientists, you know, who are expert on the politics, who are expert on systematic nation building. They did not find for that. They just chaos. They are just want to chaos, and they lead the public very chaos. That way they are doing. What is their mindset? Why they are doing without clear picture? They don't have clear about federalism. They don't have clear about democracy and nation building. They just shouting and emotionally. Why they are doing leader? And NLD also not clear. They did not prepare, you know, as I told you previous videos. They are not prepared to do something for nation building. Burmese case is, you know, it's not same with the Western country. Western country, they already done nation building. The election is just sitting on the throne. That is true in Western country. But in Burmese case, we have not done nation building. There is no throne after election, you know. You still need to make a throne. After that, you can sit it. But without throne, they just want to sit on the throne. That is an LG mistake, the civilian government. So,
okay, I'm going to
political culture. I don't like these two groups, either military or protest.
Or the protesters,
leader.
which you might also call the NLD. Yeah,
including NLD. Yeah, every protest leader who are just emotionally motivating people and not clear mind, and they make trouble people. they also responsible after the military is the main responsible. The second is the protest leader. They have responsible people, blood. They have responsible for that.
So what you're saying is that the nation of Myanmar, such as it is kind of this in the state that France was around the time of Joan of Arc, or the time that Germany was around the time of Otto von Bismarck, that is, or Frederick the Great, that Prussia, it has not yet come together as a coherent nation. And what I see in that process are two things. One is that, the old way of life dies when the nation is formed. You can see this in China, like a steamroller. The ethnic identities of the people in Yunnan all gets obliterated for this new Han man. You can see that also in southern Mongolia. And then in the case of Tibet or Uyghur, you just have outright genocide. Either you're a new Han man or you're dead. You are allowed no autonomy. And maybe China is the worst case, but certainly in every nation there's this homogeneity. And what you have in Myanmar now is heterogeneity. And the future means the destruction of their way of life if there's going to be a modern nation built. So it's going to be a very painful and culturally genocidal project, no matter how it's done. If it's done under Chinese auspices, then it will be replaced simply by, another province of China. If it's done under Myanmarese or Myanmarese/NGO auspices, you could imagine any number of outcomes. So what I want to switch to for just a moment here, maybe this will be the end, then is a reading from Robert Taylor. Now, I met Robert Taylor in Myanmar years ago at the 50th anniversary conference of the Historical Society there. I met him again in Hiroshima when we was here to do study. He's one of the most famous scholars.
I read his book.
Yeah. So I have an article here that he wrote for the Nikkei Asia in 2016. I'm going to share that and read a short excerpt from it. So here we go.
You know very well about Ne Win.
Yes. Yeah, I want to do some study of Ne Win and then make a report to this podcast next time or sometime in the future. So for those who are watching here, we see the article. It's the Nikkei Asia. The title is Robert H. Taylor, Ending Myanmar's Armed Conflicts Requires a Radical Approach. And the date of this is May 19th, 2016. So I'm going to scroll down here to this part which says accepting federalism, which I'm
Why don't you summarize a little bit?
That the representations of these minority groups is not agreed upon. One person says, I'm the president of the Kachin. Another person says, no, I'm the president of the Kachin. So, yeah, this is the chaos of the, what can you say, of the minority and ethnic group situation, which apparently NLD did nothing to address. And the Tatmadaw did through this ceasefire. So they're given credit for at least trying, not exactly succeeding, but also not exactly failing. Okay.
Yeah.
I hope that was helpful. I'll try to prepare something better next time that is more helpful. But I want to recommend, as you said, that how good his book is. Anyone interested in this subject, do some reading.
Of course, it is not consolidated ethnic state in Burma. no any state are consolidated in
Right.
this kind of political turmoil since independence. It is it's not possible, and the ethnic people, they don't have chance to consolidate their state.
Consolidate.
That is understandable. Otherwise, we can stand up with our own state. State. That is the situation. That is understandable. Even in America, even various consolidated countries still, diversity still exists. So, Burmese case is understandable. I agree that this article.
Yeah, so he lays out in that article kind of the details of the peace process among the ethnic groups. And you don't hear any of this being discussed in the media reports. All they talk about are protests and sanctions, which is a real shame.
I mean, from which side? From the Burmese side or from international?
From the international side, you read the Burmese press, I don't, but I've been watching the German and the American and the Indian.
I think all these ethnic issues are now they suspend. I think they better not do any ethnic activity because we are under faced with the whole nation union problem is bigger than those ethnic issues. That is.
Well, I think the Tatmadaw will decide what's going to be done, and that's the end of that. They have the power. They have the gun, they have the tank, they have the courthouse, they have the president's house. So it's really up to their good graces. If they make a good decision, Myanmar will have a good future. If they make a bad decision, Myanmar will have a bad future. But as was pointed out in another, I think in that Indian Strat News that I said, the United States does not have much leverage there. So all they can do is help China or oppose China. And it seems now, under Biden's leadership, they're helping China, which is not good.
Yeah.
The only good thing is they don't have that much power.
It's real. According to realism, in political science, you say it's a power game. Is true. Tatmadaw is power holder, unless international society has some strong action and commitment together with ethnic armed group that can leverage the military. There is possibility leverage, but I'm not sure very much how international society, US and China, can make up to cooperate with ethnic armed groups or
well, I can't see the United States. Yeah, the United States and China are not going to cooperate on anything. The Chinese will see to that. The United States under Biden might, kiss up to the Chinese or refuse to have a separate vision, but the Chinese will do what they want to do. And they will not cooperate with the United States. They will allow the United States to follow them, but they will not cooperate. I think in terms of what foreign nations should do is they should just do nothing. Continue to support the Tatmadaw. I mean, they don't have to give them guns or they don't have to give them tear gas, but there's nothing that they can do to change it. So just trust that they will, in time, come to the best decision possible. And let this play out without any interference. If they have any economic support, continue to give that support, because that's going to help the country. And if the people are strong, if they're comfortable, if they have, more of an income, then it will be more difficult for the military to control them in a bad way.
Yeah.
So sanctions only help the military, and sanctions only help China. That's my point.
It's unlike Iraq or Syria. If international troop or U.S.-China cooperation with ethnic arms group, they don't need any ground troop because ethnic armed group has enough ground troop already. They just need, air assistance or some weapon system much easier than Iraq and Syria case. If they want to do so in Burma, very much potential. But I don't know China-U.S. cooperation will be very unlikely to do very strong approach, Otherwise, it will be much easier than Iraq and Syria cases.
In terms of Syria, the problem over there now is Lebanon, because Trump's agreements with the Abraham Accords have. This is a separate subject, but the Lebanese economy is doing very badly because Lebanon Beirut is supposed to be the entrepot of that region, and it relies on trade from all the Arab countries. Now, thanks to Trump, the trade has shifted somewhat to Tel Aviv, and that means that the Lebanese people are being impoverished, which is the long-term goal of Israel, and a very bad thing. In terms of Syria, Trump did not want to invade Syria, but Biden wants to, which means that Israel wants to. So Trump's deal was sort of destroy Lebanon and allow Syria to live, and Biden's deal is destroy Lebanon, destroy Syria. So it's a mess over there. Myanmar is in better shape than Syria and Lebanon and Yemen, and probably many other countries.
Burma's case is very much easier if just U.S. fighter bomb on the top military general residence. That's enough, because lower commander and low soldier, they don't agree at all with the top leader, elite leader.
Well, if the United States were to embrace the Tatmadaw and invite the generals to come over to the United States, and if I don't think the Tatmadaw would reciprocate right away, but eventually they might allow some American generals to visit Myanmar, I think that would be the best thing.
No, there will be no solution. Because
I don't think they would agree to it, but at least extend the hand of friendship. Because there's nothing.
U.S. position is clear. The Burmese military position is clear. They all are opposites. Because Burmese military, the leader, the elite general, they want power. They want to clinch on power to keep controlling their business and their network in this territory. That U.S. may not easily agree. U.S. want to be democratically, systematically rule the country. In that way, they might cooperate with the general. But general interest is not that one. So it won't be able to solve and cannot negotiate. Even they invite either in Washington or maybe because it's totally different interests. So
well, if they did invite the generals to Washington, and if the Tatmadaw generals did go to Washington, China would be very angry.
China will be always angry,
so for that reason alone, I think it's a good thing to do.
And Burmese military general never go to Washington because it is not their interest. They better want to stay under the shadow of China, and they want to do gang activity in the country. That is their main purpose. So
Well, the U.S. job then
under China's shadow, they can do gang in the country, but under U.S. shadow, they can't do that. That is totally clear.
Then the U.S. should seduce their children.
I think, as I told you, there is two issues, right? The military group and the protest leader group. Either group are not good, and military also point out because they survive. They are living with the international assistance to the protest leader and all these NGO or lobbyists and all these activists, opposition activists, all this. Now, this CRPH, they are repeating again what military point out. Most of them are lobbying, NGO and so-called leader of 88 or 2007. So it is not a good sign, The military already point out why they have to repeat again and again in the military chat,
I saw a report about ASEAN from DW, the German news network, and they talked about ASEAN's response, and they had somebody from Indonesia on there, and then they reported about Malaysia's reaction. But listening to it, I couldn't get any clear sense. The Indonesian guy might have been shilling for the Chinese, and Malaysia seemed to have a little bit smarter role, sort of like, let's wait and see and hope for the best. But if there is to be any positive development, I would think it would be between a multilateral tie, first with Japan, second with a country like Indonesia or Malaysia, which are going to be restricted because of the Muslim things, or maybe Thailand, their historic enemy, or Vietnam, or some kind of multilateral regional approach. And that will probably be off the radar. That will probably not show up in a news report until it comes to some fruition. So,
ASEAN regional position is not good enough to host international society.
Well, also they have a lot of influence, corrupt influence from China. So, China tries to control ASEAN, and ASEAN has not been successful at resisting that control. But at the same time, they haven't completely succumbed to it. So if Asia doesn't have enough power to kick China out, they certainly don't have enough power to help Myanmar. So
complicated.
But they are a factor in the sense that they represent, they're a way for these countries to sort of do trial balloons or test the waters in terms of what's allowable there.
Yes, you are true. Most donors are like public relations. So I want this time they should clearly reconsider those, military accused lobbyer or NGO leader for the protest. They better quit their shit. And the donor should aware that, let the military not point out them with the money they are doing such kind of activity.
Yeah, when I was there,
for nation building, it's not for nation building.
I knew a girl who worked for the Red Cross there. The Red Cross is quite active, or was at that time in Myanmar, and she was from France. And for her, it was a way for her to work in Burma, which she loved. She loved the country, and she was trying to do the best that she could, for everyone involved. So I think the NGOs are at worst a mixed lot. Some of them, they have good individuals doing good things, it may be hard to typify them. You'd have to go case by case to see. I don't know if World Vision has been active there. That's one that is often criticized, but
Burma receive international donation is very few compared to many other countries.
right.
But that is not directly helpful for nation building. So I want whatever donation, let it be helpful for nation building. They should they should make clear picture. The money go to the nation building, and they should let them pave the way for nation building. That is my point. Otherwise, I feel it's better they don't give any penny of money for the country. It's not helpful for Burma. It's not helpful for our nation building. It's just promoting emotion and those kind of public suffering. We better not suffer, and we stay by our own is better. So that money make more trouble in other sense.